We turn now to suicide, the second leading cause of death among young people. And it's rising, especially among teens. And while it affects everyone, nearly 3 out of 4 of those lost are boys. A 19-year-old college freshman, a son, a brother, a friend, by every account, a light. So what happens when no one sees the darkness? This is one family's story and how they're turning loss into action, training others how to talk to their kids about suicide using an evidence-based approach anyone can learn to help save a life.
How is it possible that the happiest person on the planet could end his own life?
At his son's graveside on December 8th, 2024, Ben Pargman began speaking.
And how did we, me first, but then all of us, how did we completely miss it?
Blunt, anguished words from a parent whose child died by suicide.
The suicide mind is hell-bent on killing its host.
I recall a conversation I had.
His wrenching videos would unite a community. It was too late for his son, but there were so many others who could be saved. Manny Pargman had just started college at the University of Colorado, Boulder.
Always smiling, always happy, so fun, goofy, forgetful, distracted, and hysterical.
An athlete, a musician, the kind of person people describe the same way: bright, joyful, magnetic.
You know, I'd say he was the happiest kid I knew. He had more friends than anybody I knew.
The happiest person in the room, gone a few days after returning to college from Thanksgiving break in 2024.
Yeah, in hindsight, you see things you don't see when it's happening.
In the days after Manny died by suicide, his family sat Shiva, grieving, searching for answers.
The phone knew that in the 48 hours before his death, he searched YouTube and Snapchat and TikTok on how you kill yourself, how asphyxiation happens, how long it would take, best methods to do it.
You know, you could just vomit. Like, it was clear that this was a kid who was struggling and was in pain, is probably going to kill himself. It was right there in black and white. He had a journal that read like Jekyll and Hyde, whether or not he should kill himself or not, whether he deserved to live or not.
In the day before he died, Manny called nearly everyone in his contacts, including his dad and brothers.
I'm here because I want to flip your world upside down now, so you never get that phone call.
At a gathering of parents at a local high school, Ben shares the moment that upended his life.
She said, "Are you Ari Manuel Pargman's father?" And I said, "Yes." And she said, "My name is Jessica. I'm the deputy coroner of Boulder County." And I said, "What can I do for you? Is everything okay?" And she said, "No, I'm sorry. Manny is deceased." He was found this morning along a hiking trail. It appears to be a suicide. My first reaction was to say, "You have the wrong kid, Jessica. Manny Pargman is the happiest kid I know."
Experts caution against sharing details of how someone dies by suicide to prevent copycat behavior. What matters most is what led up to it. Manny wasn't himself at Parents' Weekend. His dad, Ben, says he called the school.
You know, that conversation ended more or less with, "Oh, kids are resilient. The first semester is difficult for a lot of kids. You know, I'm sure it'll be fine."
At home for Thanksgiving, Manny didn't see his friends much, slept a lot, and wore the same clothes.
I even joked with him over the Thanksgiving break. I said, "Manny, you're wearing that same sweatshirt all week. Do we need to go clothes shopping? Do you need more clothes?"
But on that break, he was also still Manny, hanging out with his family, holding court, what often looks like the typical highs and lows of growing up.
We had a table here, we had that table, and a table there. We had like 25 people here for Thanksgiving. And so Manny was the king comic of that table. I have this image of him sitting right there, and the whole table literally bent over laughing. And then on Sunday, he stood right there, and we took pictures, family pictures of him, his brother, me. If you're not looking for it and you don't think it's possible, it's in the realm of possibilities, then you don't connect those dots.
Manny had experienced profound loss. His mother died from a long illness, a rare blood condition, when he was in high school during the COVID pandemic.
The natural thing for any other parent to do is to say, oh, well, that's why. Well, if you take COVID, a parental loss, and then you could list 3 or 4 other things, and you go, okay, that's why. And I wouldn't argue that. For Manny, that's why. As I'm now in this club that no one wants to be in, and I've had the opportunity to meet other dads who have had this story, every kid's reason is different. I was taken aback.
Determined to prevent another family from living this, Ben began researching. He found awareness. He found resources. What he didn't find, how to have the conversation. At Manny's graveside, he gave his mission a name.
But by you being here today, you are hereby conscripted into Manny's band.
Apparently we need a new set of skills, and the only way to get a new set of skills is to practice.
Allow the person to talk freely.
Manny's band chose an evidence-based approach called QPR, question, persuade, refer. Simple steps designed to help anyone recognize the signs and intervene.
Hope is actually what saves a life. From someone who's suicidal, you offer them hope, they continue to live.
The goal, to take these conversations out of clinics and into living rooms, house to house, parent to parent, because recognizing the signs is only the first step. Knowing how to respond, to connect someone to help, may be what saves a life. On the first Thanksgiving after Manny's death, a concert to launch Manny's band. 1,000 students, many home for the first time since leaving for college. In between songs, a different message.
But in Manny's 18 years, I never spent 1 hour talking to him about mental health.
Turning grief into something that moves.
Suicide needs to be a topic that all parents ask their children.
Emory clinical psychologist Dorian Lamus wrote a book on college suicide. The transition to college can be one of the most vulnerable periods in a young person's life.
They are dealing with financial pressures, school pressures, and all these things together without their safety net that they had at home with their high school friends and parents. That's gone pretty much, and it's just this kind of perfect storm. And sadly, Manny's story is not unusual. Especially young men are really good at masking their suicidal thoughts because they sometimes view this emotional pain as weakness, or they feel like they're a burden on other people.
Which is why you have to ask the question to your children.
Asking your kid directly, asking them, are they having thoughts about suicide? Are they having thoughts about harming themselves? Opens up the line of communication if they are having these thoughts.
How do you work with that?
A question many parents are afraid to ask.
One of the most persistent myths in suicide prevention is that asking someone directly about suicide is somehow going to plant the idea. And really, it's the opposite. It opens up the door for communicating. It shows that you care about this person and you want to get them the help that they need.
You want to be an active listener when you're talking to somebody about suicide.
QPR works, and anyone can do it.
It is evidence-based. There's a lot of research behind it showing that it does effectively decrease suicide among many populations.
Lamus says colleges should do universal mental health screenings, noting that fewer than half of those who die by suicide ever tell someone they're struggling. and fewer than half receive treatment.
Another reason why QPR is so effective because it catches kids who are outside of the mental health system already.
The kids go out.
A conversation that may feel hard. Do it anyway.
Flat out, look at someone you love and you say, you know, you maybe don't seem like yourself, and I'm going to ask you a question. It's going to be awkward, but I'm going to ask you because I love you. Have you thought of hurting yourself or suicide?
It could be the most important conversation you ever have with your child.
We talked to our kids today about sex and drugs and fentanyl and drunk driving and all sorts of dangers that were once things you never talked about. There's one more to add to the list.